Kamala Harris declared during the debate, when Trump brilliantly forced the abortion question onto territory that was uncomfortable for her and her side. We're no longer talking about abortion within the first 3 hours after conception. We're no longer talking about abortion in the less than 1% instance of conception through incest or pregnancies that threaten the health of the mother. We're talking about 7th month, 8th month, 9th month. And Kamala Harris stated on stage that full-term abortions do not happen in the United States.
I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
That is not happening. There are no full-term abortions in America. So says Kamala Harris, and her statement has been echoed by the liberal press now. But if you rewind just about a year and you turn to one of the most respected magazines in the liberal press, The Atlantic, you find this feature story. The abortion absolutist, Warren Hern, has been performing late abortions for half a century. After Roe, he is as busy with patients as ever. This is a really disturbing piece to read, and it's very much worth reading. This is excellent journalism from The Atlantic. You can see this guy who is fanatical about performing as many abortions as late in term as he can. And he looks like the kind of fellow who would do that. This is just from May 12th, 2023. I won't read the whole story. I obviously don't have time. But just to give you a little taste of it. Hern is nearing his 5th decade of practice at his Boulder clinic. He has persisted through the entire arc of Roe v. Wade. It's a nearly 50-year rise and fall. He specializes in abortions late in pregnancy, the rarest and most controversial form of abortion. This means that Hern ends the pregnancies of women who are 22, 25, or even 30 weeks along, or further, actually, as the article will show us. Although 14 states now ban abortion in most or all circumstances, Colorado has no gestational limits on the procedure. And of course, we recall, though Kamala was trying to deny it, that states are liberalizing their abortion laws specifically to legalize abortion up till the moment of birth. Patients come to him from all over the country. Now, here's one of his clients. I put my baby down. Kate Carson, who'd gotten an abortion at Hern's clinic in 2012, told me she'd been 35 weeks into a much-wanted pregnancy when her doctor diagnosed multiple brain anomalies. Carson's daughter, the doctor said, would have trouble walking, talking, holding her head up, and swallowing. So my wife just gave birth a couple of months ago, 2.5 months ago. And we're happily, wonderful, perfectly healthy. It all went very, very well. The baby was delivered a week early. So you're talking, 39 weeks? And then you hold your baby. And the moment, if you've, if you've given birth or your wife's given birth, you are so shocked because you say, oh my goodness, that's a baby. Somehow you don't, when the baby's in the belly, you think, oh, well, I don't know. What does he look like? But then he comes out and you say, oh my goodness, that's a baby. At 35 weeks, the baby's just a baby. The baby could easily be delivered at 35 weeks. The baby would be absolutely fine at 35 weeks. The baby looks like a baby, behaves like a baby, has all of the features of a baby. By the way, we're not even talking about the sorts of disabilities that would result likely in immediate death or very early death. We're talking about the baby would have trouble swallowing. A baby might have trouble walking and talking. So the full-term baby that is just a baby that plenty of people deliver at 35 weeks, she goes to this psycho, and this psycho gleefully chops up the baby. There's so much more to say. First, though, go to preborn.org/Knowles. Every year, over 800,000 innocent lives are lost to abortion in America. It's actually higher now. It had gotten down to about 800,000. Then with the abortion pill, it's now over 1 million. This is a tragedy that should weigh heavily on every heart. We are fighting against the Biden-Harris administration, which defends abortion. We are now seeing Democrat leaders like VP nominee Walz support infanticide after birth. This is the America that we are living in, folks. Go to preborn.org/Knowles right now, where for just $28, less than the cost of a night out, you can potentially save a life. Your tax-deductible donation goes directly to defending the most vulnerable among us. That is preborn.org/Knowles. What if you can't get to a computer? No problem. Simply dial pound 250 on your phone. Say keyword baby. That is pound 250. Say keyword baby. Your $28 can be the difference between life and death for an unborn child. Let's show the Biden-Harris administration we won't stand idly by while innocent lives are at stake. Support Preborn today. This is an organization that I support personally. I encourage you to give what you can. Preborn.org/Knowles, because every life is precious and every life is worth fighting for. Medical viability for a fetus or its ability to survive outside the uterus is generally considered to be somewhere from 24 to 28 weeks. Hearn, though, believes that the viability of a fetus is determined not by gestational age, but by a woman's willingness to carry it. He applies the same principle to all of his prospective patients. If he thinks it's safer for them to have an abortion than to carry and deliver their baby, he'll take the case, usually up until around 32 weeks, with some rare later exceptions. Not because it's the baby is then too much of a baby, but because of the increased risk of hemorrhage and other life-threatening conditions beyond that point to the woman. This is happening. Real late term. People at 35 weeks, because your baby's not going to come out in a way that you imagine is totally perfect, that the baby might have some disabilities. Even, by the way, if the baby were to have serious disabilities or to likely die in childhood or even in infancy or something, that still would not justify you yourself going in and killing the baby in a particularly gruesome way. It's not as though you can just erase the baby. We pretend the baby never existed. The baby exists. And the baby is a baby. The person's a person from the moment of conception. But the baby looks much more and more and more like a baby later on into term. And the liberal media are admitting that there are full-term babies being aborted in America. Business is booming. This doctor's busier than ever. That's the Atlantic saying that. That's not the Daily Wire. That's not Breitbart. That's not Fox News. That's the Atlantic admitting that. And Kamala Harris lied on stage. And she couldn't even answer it in the hypothetical. Would you support that? This is not happening. Yeah, but it is, but and actually Democrat governors are talking about it happening. In fact, one Democrat governor talked about killing a baby after the baby was born, and Democrat governors like Andy Cuomo in New York are changing the law to stop classifying the murder of a pregnant woman as a double homicide, to legalize abortion up until the moment of birth. So all these things are happening. But okay, Kamala, even if they're not happening, would you support it in principle? Would you support it in principle? Would you support it in theory? She says, well, it's not happening. It's one of these little tests to see if someone is possible of abstract thought. You'd say, hey, would you, I forget exactly how they phrase it. It's become something of an internet meme, but would you have had waffles for breakfast last Tuesday? I say, but I didn't have waffles for breakfast last Tuesday. No, but would you? Are you able to entertain a hypothetical? The liberals will not entertain this hypothetical here because their position, the only consistent position they can hold, and the position that they do hold is yes, they support exactly what the Atlantic is describing here. They support abortion up until the moment of birth. And they can't admit it, so they have to lie about it. That was, of all the lies that Kamala Harris said during the debate, that was probably the most egregious. And of course, we're not waiting for a fact check from David Muir and Lindsay Davis. That was a great clip. Hold up, ring the bell. Subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.